This question isn't really hard. It's just annoying, especially because it's the last question and you're probably short on time. And so it's going to involve some steps and some arithmetic you have to do by hand, but it's not that bad. We can see that it's probably a geometry question, right? There's a shape, the triangle, and we can always flip back and kind of look at our reference chart and say, well, what do we know about triangles? What's being, what could help us here? Well, they're not asking for area, so that doesn't help. There's no lengths of these sides. And we can see from the angles that we don't get any of these specials, right? 30, 60, 45. So those things aren't going to help either. They do tell us, though, one thing that's going to help. The sum of the measures in degrees of the triangles of a triangle is 180. So that's something you really should have memorized because it's very important and fundamental to geometry. But we can put it here as well, 180 degrees in a triangle. But it's not the only rule that we need to know. And the others you do need to memorize. So that's kind of the moral of this story, is this is going to take into account a lot of just geometry rules and formulas, and so some of them you're given, but in this case we're going to need to memorize some. So the most important one that you need to memorize is that 180 degrees also appears in supplementary angles, right? Anytime we have a straight line and we're chopping it up with other lines, right? That semicircle, that line forms a 180 degree angle. And so that's happening right here. I'm trying to do it without cutting the 106, but right there we've got a straight line. It's vertical, but it's still a straight line. And so we want to get into the triangle so that we can get back out of the triangle. And so we need to do some subtraction, right? This is the no calculator section, so we're going to have to do this by hand. 180 minus 106. Well, the way I learn subtraction, right, is I take the 8, turn into a 7, carry the 1. 10 minus 6 is 4, 0 from 7 is 7, and 1 from 1 is 0. So that gets me with 74 degrees. So now I'm in the triangle. That's good. And then now I have 2 of the 3 angles of the triangle, so now we can use this rule to find the third, right? So a couple ways to do it. We can add the 74 and the 23 together first, and that's pretty easy. That gets us 97. And then we have 180 minus the 97 of these 2 angles gets us the third. Not the x, but the inside of it, right? So again, we can kind of, 8 becomes 7, 0 becomes 10, 7 from 10 is 3, and now 9 from, you can carry it if you want, 9 from 17 is 8. So 83 is the value of this angle right here. And then you need to do the supplementary angle rule again, and that's 180 minus 83. Now, some people just go ahead and do it. We can. I guess I should. So 7, 8 from 17 is 9. And that was kind of redundant because kind of already did that. That's what we did before. And so that also points to a shortcut. There's rules about exterior angles of triangles. I don't want to get into it because I want to, generally speaking, I think it's better to memorize less, right? I don't think that we want to try to cram our heads with every single highly specific geometry rule, algebra rule. We want rules that we can memorize, that have a lot of value, that work on a lot of different situations. And maybe that means sometimes we do an extra step, but I think in the long run, it means less has to be memorized, less work has to be done beforehand. And so if you're not, someone who's good at memorizing things, the less you have to memorize, the better. And so really we're just using 2 rules here. 180 degrees in a triangle, which we were given, and the supplementary angle rule, which we are not given, which we do need to memorize. There are 180 degrees on a straight line. And so whenever we're stuck in geometry, we're really looking for places where these rules will come in. So if you see, triangles, that's definitely a giveaway. But if you see any line that's being kind of chopped up, look for that. Look for that 180. You can usually use it. And so just to be clear, 97 is the answer. Because 97 plus 83 is 180, and that's what we need on a straight line. So it's a little bit of work, a little bit of arithmetic, but not the end of the world. And even on the calculator section, you will need to memorize that supplementary angle rule. So file it away. You'll definitely need it on every SAT.